Hello and welcome to the very first episode of BSME Talks. I'm Nalini Cook, Chief Operating Officer at BSME, British Schools in the Middle East.
And I'm Debra Forsyth, CEO of BSME. We're absolutely thrilled to be launching our new podcast today, and we're looking forward to hearing from some incredible educators from across the region.
This is something we've been working on for quite some time now, Debra. I have to say, I'm really quite pleased to be finally hitting record on the first episode. How do you feel?
Yeah, me too, Nalini. And I think the timing just couldn't be better. There's so much happening in international education right now, and particularly here in the Middle East. And we really feel that there's a need for a platform where educators can have honest, meaningful conversations about what we're experiencing here in the region.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Today, in our first episode, we're going to be telling you all about what BSME Talks is, what you can expect from us. We'll give you a sneak peek of what's coming in term two, and most importantly, we'll tell you how you can get involved.
Yes, because this is not just our podcast, this is a platform for the whole international community to come together.
So, Debra, let's start with the big question. Why a podcast? Why BSME Talks and why now?
Well, Nalini, I think there are a few reasons for this. First and foremost, we wanted to create a space where the unique experience of teaching overseas, particularly here in the Middle East, gets the platform it deserves. There's something really special about what happens in international schools here. And I think we don't always capture those stories and those insights and that knowledge. And so that's what the podcast is all about.
And the quality of education happening in our region is genuinely world class. I think that those old impressions of what international education was have completely been blown out of the water. We've got some of the most innovative, forward-thinking teaching happening right here, but that message doesn't always reach beyond our entire community.
Sadly not, Nalini, and that's where the idea of regional impact comes in. We want to showcase not just what individual teachers or schools are doing, but how the Middle East region is shaping international education more broadly. The innovations, the approaches, the challenges we're navigating, these have implications far beyond the borders of our region.
We also know that there's a wider teaching community out there who are curious about international education. So perhaps those who are considering making the move overseas. Maybe they've already made it and they're looking at moving back to the UK or onto another posting somewhere else. Or maybe they're just interested in what's happening in a different educational context.
Yeah, that's a really important point, Nalini. This podcast isn't exclusive to BSME members. We really want to reach the broadest possible teaching community, from newly qualified teachers, maybe thinking about their first international posting, to experienced heads who maybe have been overseas for decades, as well as educators back in the UK who want to stay connected to international education and understand it on that broader context.
And particularly those educators who've moved back to the UK from international postings, they've got some really valuable perspectives about what they learned overseas, how it's shaped their teaching back home, perhaps what they miss, what surprised them about the transition. Having done it myself, I can say there's experiences there to be talked about, and those voices are really important.
Yeah, absolutely, they are. In essence, we really want BSME Talks to be providing a platform for the whole educational community, a platform where educators can discuss their overseas experience, their regional insights, challenges and triumphs of international education in general. It's really about building bridges between schools, between regions, and also between the UK and international educational contexts.
And having conversations that matter, real conversations, not just the surface level stuff that we often hear.
Absolutely.
So, what can listeners actually expect when they tune into a BSME Talks episode?
Well, most of our episodes will be around the 15 to 20-minute mark, perfect for a short commute, your lunch break, or possibly over your morning coffee. We know educators are busy and we want to respect your time, so we won't be doing 2.5 hour episodes, but we do still want to be delivering something meaningful.
But for those who perhaps live in Dubai and your commute's a little bit longer than 20 minutes, we're also planning some longer, more extended episodes on topics that really deserve a little bit more time. They're going to be billed as deep dives, so you'll know when you're settling in for something a bit more substantial and meaty.
In terms of themes, Nalini, we're going to be covering a really broad range of topics. Obviously, safeguarding and student wellbeing will feature prominently. They're core to everything that we do at BSME. We'll be talking about innovative teaching practices, leadership in international schools, professional development.
Cultural adaptation, navigating different educational systems, what it's really like to make that move overseas for the first time.
Yeah, and looking into career pathways in international education, the realities of returning home after years abroad, and how international experience actually shapes you as an educator.
And we're going to be mixing it up in terms of format too. So, some episodes will be interviews with inspiring educators, heads, or education thought leaders. Some might be panel discussions where we bring together different perspectives on one single topic.
Yeah, we're also planning some This Is Me episodes where educators share their personal journey, the honest, unfiltered story of their international education career, the highs, the lows, the moments that changed everything for them.
And we want to know about the day-to-day realities too. What does teaching year two in Dubai actually look like? How does being head of maths in Qatar differ from the same role in the UK, for example? If you've gone to Saudi, what surprised you most about the teaching in Saudi Arabia?
Yes, I think those practical insights are gold dust for people who may be considering the move into international education, or even for those people already in the region who might want to understand different school or country contexts better.
And we're also planning some episodes focused specifically on regional innovations. The Middle East is doing some really exciting work around education technology, sustainability in schools, multilingualism, inclusion, and so many more things.
Yeah, and we really want to amplify those voices, Nalini. It's not always the heads of schools or the senior leaders who are driving innovation in a school. Sometimes maybe it's a passionate year four teacher who's developed an incredible approach to teaching Arabic as an additional language, or perhaps a teaching assistant who's transformed how her school supports students with SEND.
Absolutely. Everyone has a story, everyone has insights worth sharing. And we're also going to be hearing from some of our partner members. So, for those of you who don't know, BSME is not just a school community, we also have a thriving range of partner members who support the outstanding work that goes on in BSME schools. So, we'll hear from some of those too. So, Deborah, what can people expect to hear about in term two?
Well, we've got some absolutely fantastic episodes lined up, Nalini. Some of our early episodes will include sitting down with our BSME safeguarding champions to talk about how safeguarding practices have evolved in international schools. There's lots of work going on here, so we want to look at what are the emerging issues and how are schools adapting to them. We'll also look at the high-level work that's going on across international school communities to promote greater cohesion in safeguarding in education across the globe.
Such an important topic. We are also, I know, going to be doing an episode on curriculum innovation for the 21st century, looking at how schools can move away from an exam-driven curriculum to include more essential approaches and competencies that better equip students for work, for life in what's an increasingly uncertain future.
Yeah, we've also got an episode I'm particularly excited about where we're going to be talking to early career teachers who made the move overseas in their first or second year of teaching. What was that experience like for them, and what advice would they give to others who may be considering the same leap?
And there's also going to be an episode exploring career pathways for international educators. So, how do you move from classroom teacher to middle leadership to senior leadership? And how do you do that in an international context? Or perhaps how do you transition to a new role in the UK? What skills do you need? What opportunities are out there?
Yeah, we certainly have lots to look forward to this term, Nalini.
Oh, we do. Now, this is really important, Deborah, because all of this rests on your involvement. So, how can people get involved with BSME Talks?
We really do want this to be an interactive platform, not just us talking at people like today. But first and foremost, we want to hear from you. What topics do you want us to explore? What questions are you grappling with? What would you like to hear discussed, or who would you like to hear from?
You can send us your ideas, your questions, topic suggestions through the BSME website. There is a dedicated BSME Talks page where you can contact us to share your thoughts.
And if you've got a story to tell, an innovation to share, or an experience that you think would resonate with other educators, we want to hear from you as a potential guest.
And I want to reiterate what Deborah said earlier. You absolutely do not need to be a senior leader or have years and years of experience. If you're a teaching assistant with insights about supporting students in a multilingual environment, we want to talk to you. if you're an ECT who's just navigated your first term overseas, we want to hear that story too. This is absolutely open to everybody.
Yes, certainly some of the most powerful learning can come from hearing about someone else's specific, very personal experience. So please don't think your story isn't worth sharing. It absolutely is.
And we're keen to hear from educators who've moved back to the UK. Your perspective is incredibly valuable, both for the people who are currently overseas and for those who are considering the move. What did you learn? How did that experience change you as an educator? And how did you navigate your return to the UK?
And if there's someone you think we should be talking to, a colleague who's doing amazing work, a leader with unique insights, or an educator with an inspiring journey, please nominate them, send us their name, and tell us why you think they'd be a great guest for the podcast.
Yes, and once episodes start coming out, we'd love for you to engage with us on social media too, to share the episodes, tell us what resonated with you, and to continue the conversation.
And if there's a topic we cover where you have a different perspective or some additional insights, please let us know. We might follow it up with a part 2 episode or maybe a panel discussion that brings multiple viewpoints together.
So, Deborah, as we wrap up this first episode, let's talk about what we hope BSME Talks will be.
Well, Nalini, I think my key hope is that this becomes a genuine community resource, a place where educators can feel seen, heard, and connected, whether they're here in the region or elsewhere. I want people to listen to an episode and think, yeah, that's exactly what I've been experiencing. Or maybe I never thought about it that way before. Or perhaps I'm going to try that in my classroom.
I love that. For me, I hope that BSME Talks helps break down some of the mystery around international education. They're questions that I get asked quite a lot, and hopefully, this will spread the knowledge further. I want teachers in the UK who've always wondered about teaching overseas to hear real voices and real experiences, and for educators already in the region to feel proud of the incredible work that they're doing here.
And ultimately, Nalini, I hope that the podcast will contribute to raising the quality of international education even further. When we share knowledge, when we learn from each other, when we amplify great practice, everyone benefits. But of course, most importantly, our students benefit.
Absolutely, and that's the key for everyone. So, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for being here for this first episode. We genuinely can't wait to bring you more conversations, more insights, more stories from the world of international education.
As we wrap up this first episode, Nalini, I'd like to reflect on the huge impact teachers can have. I think teachers often underestimate their impact on the students that they teach. And I think all of us, when we're reflecting on our teachers that we had it in school ourselves, can imagine lots of impacts and see how wide that ripple effect can be. So, a question for you then, Nalini. Which of your teachers had the biggest impact on you, and why was that?
It's something I've been reflecting on recently, actually, regardless of this episode. I'm on an alumni group for my school, and somebody had asked that same question a couple of weeks ago, and there have been over 600 responses to it. So it's really clear how much of an impact a teacher can have on a student. For me, it was my history teacher, a lady called Miss Mosley, and history was important. I'm passionate about history, and it was what I went on to study in my higher education. But I think she impacted me the most because she was my first real look into feminism. We did a little bit of social history, looking at women's history, but also the fact that she was called Ms. Mosley, which was quite unusual for the time. She wasn't divorced, and I think at the time it had quite a stigma attached to it that was what came with that. And she said, "No, it's nobody else's business but mine. My marital status, it doesn't impact my place in the world, my work, what I do." And I was utterly enthralled and convinced, and I have been a Ms. ever since. And yeah, quite happy to be so proud of it. What
That's
about
a,
you,
that's a
Deborah?
lovely thing to share. Miss Mosley sounds like she's a fantastic teacher.
She is.
But yeah, what about me? I would have to say, I think my year 4 teacher in primary school, big jolly Welsh gentleman called Alan Jones, who I think was the first teacher that I really felt got me, understood me. We had a great sense of humour. I think he sometimes told jokes in the classroom that just for me. And I really felt for the first time that I was really being seen and understood in the classroom. And I think that made a real big difference to me and how my attitude and my approach to school was.
I love that.
Yeah, I think it really is fascinating and something we really shouldn't forget. We do have a huge impact as teachers.
Absolutely. And we're here to celebrate that. So make sure you subscribe to BSME Talks wherever you get your podcast, be that Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. We'll be releasing new episodes every 2 weeks during term time. And you can follow us on social media, send us your ideas, and tell your colleagues about us.
And if you're at a BSME event, do come and find us and say hello. We'd love to hear from you and to hear your ideas.
So until next time, thank you for listening to the very first episode of BSME Talks.
Happy teaching, everyone.